Folks. Welcome to another episode of Microsoft Tips and Tricks. My name is Gar Whaley. I'm one of the co-founders here of Teal. With me today, I have my partner and our CTO, Reid Johnston. How are you doing, Reid?
Doing great. How are you today?
Fantastic. Better than yesterday, I hope.
Yeah.
So full disclosure, we did a live webinar yesterday. We went live and then we had some bandwidth problems. So we're just re-recording it here so to be more smooth for the folks that watch it in the recorded version.
Yeah.
But Reid, what we're talking about today is agents. So while you're sharing your screen,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what an agent is and why you're using it.
Yeah. So when we are working with Microsoft Copilot or when we're working with ChatGPT, we're using kind of a general practitioner LLM. So it's got general knowledge, it's got information from training. But today we're going to talk about some agents that have some specific capabilities. So an agent is really like a specialist. It's a tool that has specific knowledge, specific actions, and capabilities. So we're going to start with the researcher agent that's now available from Microsoft. But before we get into that, we got to show like how do you get these agents, right? Because they don't just show up in your Microsoft Copilot. So here I am. I'm in Teams. On the left-hand side, I've got a Copilot button and my chat and OneDrive and all that. On the right-hand side, there'll be a panel that shows my chat history and any agents that I've installed. And we want to click on Get Agents because the researcher agent and analyst agent don't automatically show up. And when you click Get Agents, it's going to show you all of the different apps and agents that you can integrate with your Microsoft tenant. So to streamline this list a little bit, we want to filter by built by Microsoft. From there, now we're going to see the stuff that Microsoft has built, and you'll see at the top, there's the researcher agent and the analyst agent. Mine say open, but you'll want to click add next to each one, and that will add them to your Copilot agent list. So that's how we do that. And then we can go into the researcher agent. What do you think about that, Gar?
It's excellent. Hopefully you've prepped one of your queries that you're going to run.
Yes, I have. So in the researcher agent here, what this does is this is a chain of thought agent, meaning we put in a prompt and the agent will look at that prompt. It may ask some additional questions, and then it will take us through its thought process while it's gathering information and doing its work. So the way that I've been using this is to help me prepare for meetings. If I'm meeting with a client, if I'm meeting with a vendor, I'll put a prompt in to help give me some background information about that organization, about the kind of the things that might be impacting that organization in the marketplace. So I'm going to put a prompt in here and we'll say, help me prepare for a meeting with this organization called Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, using their public data, website, LinkedIn, and so on to help me understand some context about the things that they're dealing with. And when I put in this prompt, researcher is going to come back and ask me for some more details, but I don't have to necessarily give them more details. I can say, hey, just go ahead and use your best judgment. So I'm going to do that, but you can see it's asking me, are there specific aspects that the agent should focus on? Are there trends and so on? I'll say, just go ahead. So now the researcher agent is going to start its process. And in a second here, we'll start to see what this chain of thought looks like. So here now we're getting some search results. It's doing some internet searching. We'll give it a few more seconds here and we'll start to
So
see.
Reid, while you're doing that, if you scroll up,
Yeah,
when Amir and I are doing this, we usually use it for prepping for a pre-sales call.
yeah,
So we will use those bullets, and you don't have to use exactly those bullets. You can say something about, focus on the technology they use or focus on their budget concerns that might help us prep for as I said, a pre-sales call. Another great example of what we recently use this for in marketing is we want to go to events where our clients will be. where our prospective partners will be. So,
Yep.
I asked it to go out and look for all events, conferences, conventions that our clients might be at in the Washington, D.C. area between certain dates, or the Minnesota area between certain dates. And it came back in 5-10 minutes, with some
Yeah.
great ideas.
Yeah, and you can see here as we're talking, it's going through a very deliberate process of doing research, organizing data, doing some more searching, collecting that data. Think of this as like if we were doing this using Copilot, we would be typing in multiple prompts. We'd be looking at the data that's coming back, we'd be typing in another prompt. Well, the researcher agent is essentially doing that for us. And this process can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer for it to put together a detailed report. So we're not going to wait for all that. We're gonna use a prompt that I ran yesterday. So you can see on the right hand side, I have some history here of previous prompts that I put in. So I'm going to click on preparing for a meeting with MicroStrategy because I ran this yesterday. We'll let this pop up here. And I'm going to scroll. You can see I've got the same prompt at the top. And it's given me this report. So it's given me a company overview, products and services that MicroStrategy offers, key executives, recent developments, strategic initiatives, competitive positioning, industry trends. I asked about that in the prompt. Challenges. I asked about that in the prompt. So it's done a lot of different data collection and organized that information. And throughout the response, you can see there's references to sources. So this is really important because AI isn't 100% accurate, right? You want to look at the references to validate the information that the AI is giving you because it can hallucinate. But I mean, gosh, look at this report. This process took, I think, about 10 minutes. And it's given me a very thorough document. And if I scroll down way to the bottom and I click on this see all results, this is going to show the sources that were used. So you can see it's using their website. It's using some third-party websites. Up at the top here, it used Wikipedia, which can sometimes not have the right information, but for me to go through and search these sites, synthesize this information, it would have taken a really long time. So this is a really powerful tool for not only external research, but for internal research about your interactions with your clients, with your vendors, interactions with your team members, data that you have about a client. Really neat.
So, Reid, couple questions. One that came up yesterday, I'll just repeat it here. Is there special licensing needed for the researcher agent? And before you answer that, my second question that didn't come up yesterday, but I realized I actually had a, I actually had this problem, or this question myself when I started using this, is how would I share this with like Amer or Brittany or Caden, if I needed to share it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first one, you need a Microsoft 365 Copilot license to use the researcher agent. So that's the $30 a month license that lets you use Copilot in Teams and Word and Outlook and the other Microsoft apps. Now, sharing, at the bottom, you can see there's this link to edit in Pages. Now, normally when we would get a response back from the LLM, we would probably just drag over the top of it and then copy, right? That's the easy way. But that loses some of the information. It loses the ability to collaborate. So if I
Well, there's
click,
also a copy button.
there is a copy button. Yeah, copy the whole response, right? But if I click edit in Pages, it's going to create a loop component. And we're going to talk a little bit more about loop later, but it's basically creating a loop component that now I can go in here and I can edit the output of this document, and it's still loading. We'll give it just a second here because there's a lot of stuff there, a lot of stuff that's got to move in. But you can see it's linked in my citations. If you just copy the text, you lose all of that. But I can go in here and I can say, I don't like this part. I maybe want to add more text here. Maybe I want to add more data. Maybe I want to add a checklist, or this becomes a collaborative space. So now that I have this document, I can share this with anyone in my organization. So I've got a page link now, and I can go into settings and I can share it with specific people. Now we have a collaborative space that we can work on the output from the chat. So you can see it kind of split my screen here. I've got my Copilot on the left, and now I've got my page on the right.
Yeah, so a good case study for this is how we were using on our marketing team when I did this for events that we may want to participate in, and then I shared it with others in the organization so we could go in and notate it and prioritize things, etc.
Yeah. Yep. Really neat. So that's enough of the researcher agent. Let's
Yep,
move on
let's
to the
move on.
analyst agent. Yeah. So the analyst agent is the other chain of thought agent, but this is really for analyzing data specifically. So the way this works is this will perform a bunch of actions on spreadsheets or text data. It's actually going to write code to analyze the data and then show me the output of that analysis. So we have to tell it what to analyze. So I'm going to click this plus sign, and I can pick files from my device or cloud files. When I go into cloud files, it's going to let me see the most recent files that I may have opened. It's also going to show me all of my different sites and so on. So I have a sample spreadsheet here called 60-day tickets. These are sample service tickets from the last 60 days. And I'm going to say, give me insights on this data.
So those are help desk tickets that we've received as a company from our clients.
Yep. Yep. And this is a sanitized list. So it's all the data has been anonymized and everything. But what it's doing is it's using Python. So it's using a development language to start looking at that data. It's saying it's got 22 columns, about 250 rows. It's listing out the different columns in the spreadsheet. It's writing some code here. It's got this chain of thought where it's going through and it's parsing and analyzing and defining what tasks it's going to do. It's writing more code. And this is actually pretty quick. It does take a few minutes to do. So I'm going to jump over to the output that we had from yesterday. So we'll let that load up here in just a second. So again, I said at the top, give me insights on that file. And I'm going to scroll all the way down, and you can see the entire chain of thought. It even ran into some errors during the process, but the AI will then try to fix those errors, or it will try another way of approaching the process that it's using. And then finally, at the bottom, all the way down here, now I've got my output. So 259 tickets, the time span, different ticket types, subtypes, volume, and so on. So think about if this was inventory information in your business, sales data, could be really any type of data that you want to analyze. And it gave me a broad range of output because I gave it very little to go off of. But if you want to ask specific questions, information about specific trends, it'll bring back that detailed response for you. So really powerful. And you can do the same thing from inside of Excel. If you go into Excel, click Copilot, go into Advanced, it's multiple steps. But this agent takes that out of Excel and lets you interact with it through a chat interface. So,
Yeah, that's the example I used yesterday. That I used this for was I downloaded a spreadsheet of our client and particular criteria about clients, so I could see what market we had the most clients in and things like that. And then I was able to share that with Amir through Pages the way you did just show. But this
yeah.
one's also awesome.
Yeah, and it's aware of the fact that we just took that last prompt from researcher and put it into Pages. And it says, hey, do you want to add this data to this page? So Copilot knows that we've got multiple streams of work that we may be trying to pull together into an organized place. So that's the analyst agent.
So
Really,
last question on agents. This agent also requires that license that we talked about for researcher agent. So
yep,
generally speaking, all the agents do.
yep. Yeah, there is Microsoft released the ability for an organization to build agents and then on a consumption basis. So you can pay on a consumption basis if you don't have that $30 a month license. but that's complicated. That's for a different day.
Fantastic. Well, let's jump to a different ship here and talk about something that is very cool, adding a loop to a channel. But since we did it live on our call yesterday, you're gonna have to add it to a different channel.
Yeah, I'm playing with all these different channels. So
So
here
maybe use focus and sidetrack Reid Gar one and one.
we're going to use marketing in this
Okay,
demo. We're going to use marketing. So
but that's
here
what
I'm
you
in
used. That's what you used yesterday. So
I used events yesterday. So here,
oh, okay. All
here
right.
we're in marketing. We've got a channel, and you remember from where we've talked about loop before, you can share loop components in chat. The problem with that, though, is you have to manage the permissions separately. Well, Microsoft has added the ability for you to add a loop component to your channel. So at the top of our channel here, I've got the plus sign where I can add all sorts of different things to my channel. I'm going to add a loop component. What this will do is this will create a workspace in loop that is tied to my channel. So I don't have to worry about setting permissions in the channel and then going into loop and setting permissions there. So it's lets me create a workspace, and it says the members will automatically be added from the marketing general channel. So this is really useful because you might be setting up a new team and you're building out that collaboration space. Add a tab for Loop. Now, when you add people to that team in the future, they automatically have access to that Loop workspace. They can use Loop separately outside of Teams. They could use the Loop app on their cell phone. There's lots of different ways they can interact with the content, but the permissions are streamlined through Teams. So this is really nice because it simplifies that permission management. So now I can go in and I can use the Loop workspace just like we were when we were in Pages before, and I can add all kinds of different content here. And we'll do another webinar just about Loop. So
And
this is
as
really,
we said yesterday, you recommended that, when you set up a new team or channel, that you should probably add this by default.
yeah, I mean, there's lots of other advanced things that you can do inside of that Teams interface other than just chatting. So we think of Teams for chat, but you've got Loop here. You can embed PowerPoint, you can embed SharePoint sites, websites. You can load up these tabs at the top with all of the things that your team will use when they're collaborating. So um, Loop is a great part of that.
Yep, great. So last one, and today we're right on time to keep it less than 20 minutes. Yesterday we got a little bit delayed because of some internet issues. But the last one is sort of a fun one.
Yeah.
It's sort of what I miss. What did I miss when I go into a meeting? So talk about that.
Yeah.
But also, I think Carolyn asked a question yesterday that maybe we didn't get to, which is what tool are you using to do this?
Yeah. So what I just put on my screen is Teams. So this is a recap from a Teams meeting. But let's pretend that I'm joining this Teams meeting a few minutes late. So I hit join a few minutes late. Shannon's there, Nick's there, William's there, Gar's there. They've been talking for a while, and I want to know what they've been talking about. So when I join that meeting late, I can click on the Copilot button. It's going to be in the upper right-hand corner of that live meeting. When I do that, I can say, catch me up on what I've missed. And Copilot is going to go back into that first 5-10 minutes of transcript that's been recorded, and it's going to summarize that recording. It's going to summarize that content for me and show it to me right in the Copilot chat window while the meeting is happening. So that's nice if you join meetings late, which I know I never join meetings late.
Yeah, as I said yesterday, I don't either, but sometimes people will start a meeting early. So there'll be 5 or 10 minutes of chit chat. And
Yep.
so if you join on time, or if you happen to join late and you have Copilot, it will do a pop up that says, do you want me to show you what I've missed? So you don't
Yep.
even have to type what did I miss. It's going to ask you if you want to see it.
Yeah.
But I think what Carolyn was asking yesterday, if I remember correctly, is I think what she meant is, do you need a license for this capability?
Yeah, so if you're joining a meeting late and you want to get caught up, you need that Copilot license, which is $30 a month, to have that ability to chat with Copilot and get caught up. Yeah, you do.
Fantastic. Reid, thanks so much for taking the time today. Folks, thanks for joining yesterday, and hopefully this is more error-free today when we send it out. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to Reid or I. Also, you can reach our entire team at info@tealtech.com. Thanks again. Have a great day. Reid, have a great one.
Yeah, thanks a lot. See you later.
See ya.